So in this video, I want to share one of the biggest mistakes I made when buying medical devices for the clinic that I managed and what I would do differently. And so essentially we had been pitched on some imaging devices, kind of a newer one that had come out that would take an image of a wound and allow you to see the bacterial burden of that wound, which I thought was fantastic because it's more data to support us in case of an audit. It helps us to not place grafts when we should not be placing grafts, and it's reimbursable. And so I thought to myself, like, oh my goodness, we're gonna need this all the time. Our case manager looked at the charts, and it's like, yeah, more than 80% of our patients, we need this data on a regular basis, so we would be utilizing it this much and we would get paid. And so I ended up buying 5. We had like 3 or 4 providers and I bought 5 just in case. And our providers didn't use it for 6 months. So we spent $100,000 on these devices and they were not touched for 6 months. And so let me explain why I think that was. I won't list all of the reasons, but I'll list kind of one of the main ones, which is if you buy medical devices that require a provider to learn a new skill and do a new task and they don't make any additional money, what's the incentive for them? Now, I know that that's kind of curt, but to owners and operators, like, we can talk pragmatically here. Providers are not just going to use a tool because it might be clinically beneficial. They're going to use a tool and they're going to assess, is it absolutely necessary, AKA how much work is this really going to take? And if the money doesn't make sense, why would I use it? It just doesn't make sense. And so, especially with something like imaging, I want to mention this because as an owner and operator who's making these decisions, one of the decisions you have to make is to assess your return on investment. And you can be very confident that if your providers are having to do additional work and they are not receiving additional compensation, check a legal professional, make sure it's legal. I'm not saying anything inappropriate, but within the confines of what's legal, especially for 1099 providers. If they are having to do additional services and additional work and not being paid more, you're going to find that that's probably going to be underutilized, in my experience. And so one of the biggest mistakes I made was buying in bulk and expecting to get a return on that investment for the clinic, for it to be used as much as it should be used without anything impacting the providers from a compensation standpoint. Now, in my defense, I did not understand legally how to do that, or if I could do that, or if we could do that. The physician and I did not really, we didn't get it. We have been told differently. My recommendation to you is to talk in depth with an attorney about how you can properly incentivize your providers appropriately, because the reality is, if you're asking them to learn a new skill and you're asking them to do additional documentation, why would a 1099 provider do that if they are not being paid additional for the additional work? And so one of the biggest mistakes I made when majorly investing in medical devices was I did not consider, hey, why do I think that we would actually be using this other than the fact that it might be clinically beneficial? That is not enough. You're running a business. And so, real talk, that's something that I made a mistake and that I would do very differently. And I hope that can be a benefit and of use to you if you're having an issue with utilization.